What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millzy. Look at the hometown commander. We're back for another episode of Millzy Reacts, the now apparently long-standing show where I react to some news in the Magic world for you guys. And over the weekend, we had a Magic Fest, and we got a bunch of new news for the sets coming out this year. Man, I don't think I realized going into this year how much I was really going to enjoy this year of Magic. We got First Star Obi-Wan, which is a really great set. We just finished up March of the Machine, and we're moving on to March of the Machine Aftermath, but over the last month, and then I did a reaction video on that, and then here we're getting some more information for the rest of the sets for this year. And I have to say, the more that we see from these sets, the more it just gets me excited. The more I want to see more of it, the more I want to brew around to it, and I hope you feel the same way. So our little panel started with Doctor Who, the Doctor Who Universes Beyond Commander decks coming out at the end of this year. We got a lot more information about them, mainly some art for some things in the set, the 13th Doctor there, Davros. And then the cool part is that every Doctor, as well as most of the villains, will have their own sagas. The sagas will in some way encapsulate an episode or a story arc for each of the Doctors, which I am pretty excited about. I think what makes Doctor Who is the Doctors, right? So I think that is pretty darn cool. But we saw our 4 decks finally. The first Blast from the Past includes the first 8 Doctors with Colin Baker there on the front. I think that looks pretty cool. They actually announced that every Doctor and every companion, because the companions are some of the most important parts to who the Doctor is and what the Doctor does, are going to have an ability where they can kind of partner with each other. So it's going to kind of be like Friends Forever, but only for the Doctors and the companions. I think that's pretty cool because that means we can mix and match. But I think it's just going to make them more fun. And then wouldn't it be great to have some sort of 5-color Doctor and companion tribal deck? Now, so we see Blast in the Past, including the first 8 Doctors. We have the deck that made me the most excited seeing it for the first time, Timey-Wimey, with David Tennant and Rose on the front, and that's going to include Doctors 9, 10, and 11, and that's pretty cool. That deck looks pretty fun. And then we have Paradox Power, and this has Doctors 12 and 13, so Capaldi and Jodie in that deck, as well as their companions. And then the 4th deck is going to be all of the villains. We see Missy and the Cybermen and the Daleks in the front there. So I'm really excited to see more of these decks. 50 new cards, I believe they said, in each of the decks, all Doctor Who art, and lots of cool stuff to come. I can't wait to see the decks, see what they include. We are going to see Plane Chase with the Doctor Who decks, which is pretty cool as well. Plane Chase is something cool. We just did it in March of the Machine, and we're going to get it back again. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like the ideas of these color combinations? Of course, we know nothing about them yet. We won't know anything until we get closer, but I have to say, on first look, this is a deck that is something I'm very interested in. My wife is a giant David Tennant fan, and so am I. I also really love Matt Smith. So, of course, that deck is something that would be a quick pickup for me, since Smith will be in there as well. But the more that I look at this, the more I think it'd be fun to make some sort of 5-color Doctors deck and make that a thing. Second thing we got, which we got some box art for, which is absolutely gorgeous, is the Doctor Who Collector Booster. So this time around, instead of just getting the decks, we're going to have a Collector Booster product that's going to have alternate versions of all the cards that are in the deck. So every card is going to be available in the decks. That doesn't change. The Collector Boosters will have no new cards, have no cards that aren't available in the decks, but they're going to have alternate arts for them. The way that they explained this was, I believe, is that this is the standard art for the 13th Doctor, and this is the one that's going to be available in the special art in the Collector Boosters. So I think that's pretty cool. This is definitely something I want to pick up. I love Doctor Who, and I have to say, this is one of those Collector Booster displays I might actually keep because I love the look of it. It looks so cool. Have the TARDIS there in the background. We saw the TARDIS lands, which looks so cool. The TARDIS in different places in different episodes. It's cool to see them kind of represent so much of the Doctor's run in different ways, and the basic lands look great. And then we have an example of one Plane Chase card so far. But so we went from knowing little to nothing about the Doctor Who Commander decks to knowing a lot. We haven't seen the face commanders yet. We will eventually, and this just honestly made me more excited for this Doctor Who product. I'm so excited to brew around it. I'm so excited to play with it. It's going to be hard for me not to buy everything, but I am for sure going to be opening up a Collector Booster box on the channel. You can believe that. I'm so excited to keep this. It looks so cool, and I'm hoping to build at least one deck from Doctor Who. I had kind of the same feelings for 40k, and ended up building the Tyranids, and that's been the deck that I've had kept around. But I like to build at least one deck from this and keep it around for all time, just so that way I can have some fun with it. I think I might do probably what I did with the Tyranid deck. where I took the rest of the cards in the deck and used a custom card site to change the art for all of them to match the Doctor Who aesthetic. I think that could be a ton of fun, but we will talk way more about that when we get closer. Well, next up in the panel, we saw some more about Commander Masters. Of course, we already got some dates. We had seen some cards, but we saw a couple new things. We saw Personal Tutor from Portal 3 Kingdoms get its first official reprint. So someone jokingly said online that none of your Portal 3 Kingdoms cards are safe. We're going to be reprinting all of them. Personal Tutor is a very interesting card. It's a lot like Sylvan Tutor, right? Putting something on the top for 1 mana. So I think it's interesting. Of course, there's going to be a lot of spell-sling decks that are going to use this to great avail because putting it on the top and drawing it, there's so many card effects that draw you cards when you cast spells. And then we see Selvala, Heart of the Wild. It's one of my favorite green cards, especially in certain decks. Gets this pretty profile print, but it is going to get a straight reprint. And I love that all of these cards are getting prints with a regular print, foil etch, and this profile. This is going to mean, or the borderless or what have you, this is going to mean that those regular versions are going to help bring the price of these cards down. People are going to be able to have them, and they're going to be a little bit more accessible. I'm warming up to Commander Masters a little bit more, but my fear of how many bulk rares are going to have and what all is going to be there is still there, and I'm going to hold my judgment on that until we get closer. But the last thing we saw, and I want to talk about all 4 of them right now. We're going to brew decks around all 4 of them on the channel. Don't you worry. That'll all come once we get closer to Commander Masters, because each of these decks has 10 new cards, I believe, including the Commander. So we don't want to build these decks until we see them. But we finally got who our face commanders are going to be. And first up for the Eldrazi deck, we have Zoldak Void Gorger, 5 and a colorless for 7/4. It says color spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade. This is gross. If you listen to the episode that we did over on the Commander Brew Crew podcast, where we had kind of guessed what we thought Eldrazi was going to be, I had a gut feeling that there might be something to do with Cascade on one of these, so this wasn't my exact pick, but geez, I think this is definitely probably for just a rampy Eldrazi deck, this is your go-to, because what you're going to be able to do is once you hit that first Titan with this out, you're going to go ahead and start cascading. You're going to cascade into more of those Eldrazi monuments and more of those Forsaken monuments and things like that, and you're just going to start cascading into the things that are just going to make your deck more and more efficient and harder and harder to deal with. The best part about this Cascade trigger, which I know it's already an upside, so there's no way for me to sell you this. I'm already selling it. Is that because of the Cascade trigger, you cast the thing you cascade into, which means all of your Titans that have cast triggers, Ulamog, Kozilek, those ones that have cast triggers, still go off. So if you start with something like It That Betrays or something like that that's up at 14, 15 mana, you're going to cascade into anything into your deck, and you're going to get all the cast triggers from it. This is dumb gross, and if you've listened to the Commander Brew Crew podcast, Josh is over the moon about this card, and he cannot wait to play it. Next up, we have our Enchantress Commander, and this one had me kind of interested. Anixia, Hand of Erebos, our Abzan Enchantress Commander. Menace, other enchantment creatures you control have Menace, which is kind of cool. It says when enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie, in addition to its other types. Okay, so we had seen that we were getting Abzan Enchantress Commander, and this reminds me a lot of Miracle in a lot of ways. They're very similar. I'm not sure which is better. I think both of them have definitely interesting ways to go, but I like this idea of getting something into your graveyard because we're in black, so we have a way to discard cards or purposely put things into our graveyard, and then get copies of them that are creatures. We have so much Enchantress support, so we're going to be able to draw, we're going to be able to be effective on mana, we're going to have lots of things. But I'm intrigued to see, this is what I'm intrigued to mess around with, just to see what we can do with, what fun we can have, and if this or Miracle does this effect better. I'm kind of intrigued to see what the community thinks as well on that one. Next up, we have the Jeskai Planeswalkers deck with Commodore Guff, a 4-mana 5 loyalty Planeswalker that can be your commander. It says, at the beginning of your end step, put a loyalty counter on another target Planeswalker you control, just 1. +1 gets you a 1/1 wizard with tap for a red. Spend this mana only to cast a Planeswalker. And then the -3 says, you draw X cards and it deals X damage to your opponent, where X is the number of Planeswalkers you control. I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm pretty let down by this commander as far as a Planeswalker deck goes. I was really hoping for some sort of benefit for playing planeswalkers, whether it was returning them back from the graveyard, whether it was getting a reduction on casting them. The thing, if you go back and listen to the Commander Boot Crew podcast that we did, the real thing I was hoping for was maybe a legendary creature that would let you use abilities more than once, or pick a planeswalker and you can use its ability on anyone's turn. I don't know. I was hoping for more, and to me, I see the upside of Guff, but as I was telling someone earlier today, I feel like you're better off playing still with Kaikar or Narset Enlightened Master, or the new Narset from March of the Machine, The Aftermath, or just a couple other Jeskai commanders that are just going to net you more value. I don't see the value in Guff at the moment, but maybe as we see more of the deck, we'll start to understand why Guff might be a little bit better, but at the moment, I think I'm straying towards a different Jeskai commander for this. But again, we're giving all of these judgments without an idea of what the new cards are from the set. Maybe the new cards from the set are going to change my mind. And our 5-color Sliver deck, we see Sliver Gravemother. Legends rule doesn't apply to slivers you control. Each Sliver creature card in your graveyard has Encore X, where X is its mana value, and then it has Encore 5. So Encore says, exile this card from your graveyard. For each creature, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. For each opponent, yeah. So each opponent, you would get a copy attacking them. They gain haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. This is an interesting effect. I think the interesting thing about this is it's going to come down to how many non-legendary slivers you have, but of course, right, we don't care, because Sliver Gravemother makes all of them not be legendary. So I like the idea of this card. I think it's definitely a way to build slivers, and I think it'll see its play. I think slivers have been kind of this interesting tribe where each of them kind of have their camps of the decks that are created for it. I like the idea of this. We'll probably see a lot more of the attack buffing enchantments, a lot more of the shared animosities, or the coat of arms, or the things like that are just going to take this effect and blow it out of the water and make it hard in combat. But this is kind of interesting, and I think this might be the kind of thing I'd be interested in when it comes to slivers to make that deck. But that is what we saw from that deck. Again, all 4 of the commanders, and that was pretty darn cool. Next up, we got an update for Lord of the Rings Tales from Middle-earth. We get to see a new card, 2 new cards, and actually what the ring mechanic looks like. So we get the first time the ring tempts you, you choose a creature you control to be your ring bearer. Your ring bearer is going to get specific effects while the ring is out and active, and then you get to go down. So you'll start with the first one, and then as the ring tempts you, you'll go down on this track, kind of like a dungeon. But the thing here is, every time the ring tempts you, you may choose another ring bearer. You do not have to keep the same one, but of course, you will get all of the effects that you have above it, I'm pretty sure, but we'll see a little bit more as we see some more cards in the deck. But we got Call of the Ring enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. The ring tempts you. Whenever a creature you control is chosen as a ring bearer, you may pay 2 life if you do draw a card. Kind of interesting. Plays into this ring and the ring bearer mechanic. But the card we saw that, to me, I was really happy, because this feels a little bit more like Sauron to me than the one we saw in the starter deck. That's Sauron the Necromancer, 3 and 2 black for a 4/4 menace. When it attacks, exile a target creature card from your graveyard, create a tapped and attacking token of that card, except it's a 3/3 black wraith. At the beginning of the next end step, exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. So here we can see, if he's our ring bearer, we're going to keep all of the copies of that, and this just feels like more Sauron to me. This feels like the dark Lord that he is, what he's doing, and to me it feels a little bit more powerful and thematic than the other Sauron we saw. But that was to be expected, and I doubt this is the last Sauron we're going to see, because it certainly seems like the commander decks are going to have a Grixis Sauron as their leader. So we will see more. But again, this makes me feel a little bit better. This feels more like the Sauron that we're used to. We did also see the ring frame for it, but I didn't pull it up, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the look of it. We saw, in a different panel, 6 new cards from Lord of the Rings, another 6 that form one of these picture landscapes. We saw the Frodo and the Samwise and the Gollum and the ring before that did theirs, and here we have 6 new ones. Abelia, Sackville Baggins, Wizards Rockets, Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, Delightful Halfling, Bilbo, Retired Burglar, and Frodo Baggins. And you can see them all here together in their beautiful thing together. I'm not going to talk about all 6 of these, because some of them are kind of interesting, but there's 2 I thought was kind of interesting. The first is Delighted Halfling, a 1-mana 1/2 that taps for a colorless or taps for a mana of any color, and this can be only spent to cast a legendary spell, and that spell can't be countered. That is bonkers good for what you'd already be trying to do in a legendary deck. I think that's kind of an interesting card, and I see this working out really well in this clear Halflings deck that's going to be coming out with the sets. This card's probably going to be a slam dunk in that, and of course, it's not going to be in the deck because it's a rare in the set, unfortunately, but that's pretty darn cool, and I'm excited to see that in this obviously halfling style deck that's going to be coming out. And the second is Gandalf, Friend of the Shire. It says flash, you may cast sorcery spells if they had flash, and this is whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, the ring bearer, draw a card. This is a little bit more of what I expected from Gandalf, being able to do things at instant speed, kind of doing those wizard fun things. I guess this is what I expected a little bit more than the Gandalf we have already seen, so that's pretty cool. And again, this is proof that we're going to see more of these creatures. We've seen a rare Gandalf. We've now seen uncommon Gandalf. Also with Frodo below him, we've seen a rare Frodo. Now we've seen an uncommon Frodo, and we, of course, am confirmed to see another Frodo for the Commander deck as well. So I like that for these important characters, we're seeing more than one of them. It's not just one. We're getting the privilege of more than one. Now, all these cards say pre-release at the bottom, so I'm not 100% sure what that means or where they'll be available. We will get a lot more of that information once we get towards the set itself. But I have to say, I'm very intrigued to see more and more as we get to see. Bilbo's card looks pretty interesting. So does Lobelio's. So I'm interested to see more of these cards as we see them. I like the kind of the vibe we're getting so far with this multiple stages. In the Brothers War, right? We saw Urza and Mishra at Uncommon, Rare, and Mythic. We got to see them along their timelines. I like that we get to see Frodo and Gandalf in multiple cards. We get to see them do different things or have different play styles depending on the card, or they all might work together to make you a thing together. So I think that's pretty cool, and I'm excited to see more of this. We've now seen 2 confirmed of these kind of images together, so I'm pretty excited to see what else more we get. But I love seeing that all of these cards are getting borderless. All of them are getting beautiful arts. And Andrew from our Commander Procure podcast is over the moon about these cards, and he can't wait to get our hands on them either. But that wasn't the last thing we talked about. The last thing we talked about was Wilds of Eldrain, our set coming out in September. It'll be our last premiere set of the year, because Lost Caverns of Ixalan comes out just in the beginning of the year in January. And the original Eldrain, Throne of Eldrain, was a set that I really loved. I love high fantasy as a genre. I love the idea of it. So does my wife. She reads a lot of novels and things like that dealing with high fantasy and things like that. So it's something I've always enjoyed, and everything about Eldrain to me just screamed high fantasy and what we love about it. I think the original Eldrain had a lot of issues, mainly in its power level, creating cards that are format staples to this day. But my hope is, from the art we've seen already, we've seen this queen here already, but we get to see some more. My hope is that from the art we've seen so far, I think we've seen that the whimsical part of Eldrain is coming back, but also the cool part of Eldrain is coming back. From some of the stuff we've seen so far, Eldrain is in a power vacuum. Things need to be saved. People need to go to war, and Rowan and Will are back trying to influence that. We're not entirely sure about which side each of them are on or what's all involved, but they are back and they are fighting for it. If you haven't seen all the spoilers yet for March of the Machine, the Aftermath, the Kenrith's parents, so Will and Rowan's parents, are dead, which means there is that power vacuum going on in Eldrain, so they have something to do with it. I love the look of the Switch Queen here with the apple. I'm kind of intrigued to see what her card is and what's involved in it. It might be pretty darn cool. We got the confirmation that Ashiok is back. Ashiok is on Eldrain, and that's pretty cool. Ashiok's been a planeswalker I've always kind of enjoyed. Their cards have always been kind of interesting in what they've done, so I'm intrigued to see what a new Ashiok looks like. And we got to see Sir Ginger, a reference to the release trailer of Throne of the Eldrain, where they're fighting off against Garrick in the house, and we get to see Sir Ginger back on her steed. This is kind of an interesting card, and just makes me love again that we get more of this whimsical part of Eldrain. We got Gingerbread Brute the last time, and we get to see Sir Ginger this time. So I'm excited to see kind of what whimsical things come with the set. Well, we didn't just get that. We got to see some pack arts. We see the Queen there. We see Ashiok. We see Will and Rowan on the packs. But this is my absolute favorite thing. I like I said, I talked about how if I bought the Doctor Who Collector's box, it'd be a box that I'd keep. I think I might keep this one too. Wilds of Eldrain. I totally forgot her name, and I just said it literally 45 seconds ago. We see her on the front of the collector's boosters there, as well as a beautiful kind of Candyland look. So I'm excited to see what this means, what's involved in this. But I love the look of this. We get 2 precons, and they actually announced that this is the way precons are going to look now. There's not going to be as those front cards like there used to be. They're going to look like this. We get a blue-black fairy deck and a green-white Virtue and Valor. My guess is this is kind of the +1/+1 theme they had in Eldrain in green and white the first time, so maybe we'll see something. The fox on there reminds me of the couple of the fox cards in the original Eldrain that had counters and things like that. So I'm intrigued to see what that deck looks like as well. But we get 2 precons, and this is the new art for them. We see the bundle here with the Witch Queen on there again, and then the pre-release. Love the look of that with the fairies on them. I am excited to see fairies get some more support with the commander deck. I'm hoping that we get to see some new mechanics or just some new fun for them. And then they did announce that a new starter kit was coming out. Of course, starter kits are great to pick up for your friends if you're trying to teach them how to play or anything like that. But let me guys know down in the comments what you guys think. All the new things got announced. I am beyond excited for Doctor Who. I'm beyond excited about Commander Masters and all the fun stuff coming with those new precons and all the reprints that we're going to see. I absolutely love borderless cards, so I love seeing all the new reprints of those. We'll talk about Eldrain and my love for that. And then Lord of the Rings looks cooler and cooler every time we see something from it. I can't wait to see that set. That set looks like it's going to be a ton of fun to open. I'm going to try to open as much as I can from that set on here on the channel. And I will probably be building something from that. I kind of feel like I have to. It's so cool of a property. It's so cool of a IP that I feel like I have to build something for it. Andrew, my partner over on the Commander Brew Crew podcast, he is beyond elated, and it's something that I'm sure he will get to spend some more time talking about over on that podcast as we go through. We might have to do five or six episodes on the set so he can have all his time to gush and talk about the things that he really loves. But if you're interested in that, Commander Brew Crew is our podcast here on the channel. You can check that out. That posts it should be every other week, but as of late, it got delayed just a little bit, but that'll be out this Friday, next episode with that. And as normal, we are brewing on the channel. So starting next week, we'll be switching over to one commander from Aftermath and then one from the regular set, or there will be some weeks where we do 2 from Aftermath. I just want to start doing some Aftermath stuff. We've seen the whole set, so we can start brewing around it, and there are some new and interesting commanders that are coming out for that. And then we will be in a small holding pattern until Lord of the Rings comes out, when we will just explode again, brewing as much as we can and having a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will catch you guys next time.